We are coming to you from Rush University, and this is our Are You Wellness series. Today we're talking about the certainty of uncertainty. And my hope is by listening to a little of Sweet Caroline, that was something that many of you know, and maybe even got your foot tapping a little bit. And so kind of bringing some certainty into our world where we are just filled with uncertainty right now. And so when you're feeling uncertain, reaching for a smile or something familiar really does help, even eye contact. So thank you, Angela. Thank you, Dwayne, for connecting. I really appreciate that. And so for the next 50 minutes or so, we're going to try to talk about how to get to that level of certainty when there is uncertainty all around us. All right, so let's start with a grounding exercise as we usually do. If you'll sit back in your chair and have your feet on the floor, kind of relax your shoulders a little bit, and take a look around the room that you're in. It might be a room that you're in all the time. Look around to see things that are familiar. See things that maybe make you smile. Maybe you have pictures in the room that kind of remind you of people who love you and surround you. Things that make you sad. My heart just breaks for what's happening in Ukraine, and my hope is that things that we can do on this side of the ocean is really making an impact for them. But think about those things. What about laughing out loud? Can you guys give a try to laugh out loud? The fact that I can see Joan and Dwayne and Ed, maybe just laugh. And the interesting part about this is your brain doesn't know if it's a real laugh or a fake laugh, but it releases endorphins either way. So just the ha 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 kind of thing, or a ho, 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 and be able to allow yourself to laugh, because that really does help your brain. Taking 3 deep breaths is something that we always do as part of this. So I'd like you to do that in through your nose, out through your mouth. Then kind of slow yourself down because you've been busy all morning and you're coming to join us, and maybe you're going to try to get your lunch in and catch up on emails. And my hope is you'll actually focus and be able to take time away and let your brain have a little recess. All right, so if you would put your hand over your heart, or for those of you who are comforted and are okay with that calming hold, that's your right hand underneath your armpit against your ribs. Your left hand comes up over your shoulder and kind of presses into that muscle. That completes a neural pathway. And again, that is a way to note to your brain to calm. So whichever is comfortable. If it's more comfortable, back hand on your chest, do that. But I'd like you to close your eyes and be able to focus on your breathing. And I'm just going to bring this little thing to you. Settle in. Keep breathing those nice deep breaths. Think of a person who's been kind to you. Could be a grandparent, a teacher, a parent, a friend, even a beloved pet. Allow yourself to feel this warmness, this kindness. Imagine the person, this being, gazing at you with understanding, kindness, and compassion. Imagine this person wishing you well, sending you a blessing, possibly saying these words: may you be safe and protected. May you be healthy. May you be held in kindness and compassion. Take a deep breath and just stretch. Just stretch out in front, stretch up over your head, and then put your hands behind you and take that deep breath with your chest open. And that just brings you to our space. And hopefully your space, you can imagine something that's calming to you. And this is a really good thing to do when you're feeling uncertain, to have a space that your mind can go to. And it could be just something at home that you feel comfortable, maybe out on your patio or a chair in your house, or a vacation you've been on or you wanted to go on, and you have a view of that you can kind of hold that image while you take those deep breaths. And no matter when you take those deep breaths, that's a really good thing to signal to yourself that power of kindness. And that's so important. So hopefully we've kind of started out, kind of shifted you, grounded you for this talk today. Just a reminder that we come to you every month, that school is in session, that the university classes are meeting. And today, the certainty of uncertainty. Next month, we will have 2 guest speakers talking about ergonomics and wellness, and there'll be another reminder go out right before that. So hopefully you'll be willing to join us for that as your year kind of completes. All right. Our objectives today are just to recognize, to be able to acknowledge for yourself the tolerable and intolerable uncertainty in your life, to understand the impact it has on your mental and physical health, and maybe some strategies that you can do to be more consistent and to be more tolerant, that you're able to increase your well-being. And then finally, at the end, I'm going to share some resources around Rush, but maybe you already have accessed some of them and you can appreciate and maybe even share in the chat some of the things that you've used that have worked well for you. And just a reminder about the chat, please definitely use that, because I think that's good for the whole community of people that are meeting with us right now. So we've got over 50 people right now. And if you have things that work for you around uncertainty and centering yourself, put that in the chat so we can all learn from that. That'd be wonderful. All right, just some definitions that we can kind of settle on is that uncertain is not to be relied on, not known or definite, not completely confident, not known beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think that we have so much of that swirling in our world. Uncertainty can be threatening. It can evoke negative emotions. For some people, the anxiety around uncertainty is very difficult, and the stress actually feels like a threat. And so we do need to kind of get our hands around this so that we can manage it. It's also, by the way, a law in quantum mechanics. Just thought I'd throw that in there. All right, so let's do this. If you can, take your phone and go to menti.com. And there's a code on the screen. You can also use the QR code. And what I'm asking you to do is think about what shows up for you when you notice uncertainty in your life. When things are unsettled for you, what happens to you? What do you notice? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift the screen. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. And if any of you are on the phone, what I'm going to do is read the code. So it's menti.com, and the code is 7276-3917. I'll say it again, 7276-3917. That code will also be on the next screen, so don't worry if you still need it. All right, so hi everybody. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shift us over to Mentimeter. There we go. All right, so thank you. People are already putting things in. The larger the font, the more people are putting that same word in. So definitely that feeling of anxiety. What is that feeling for you? When you feel anxious, do you feel your breathing get more rapid? Do you feel your jaw tense? What do you feel? What is that actual feeling or emotion that you have? Yeah, fear, definitely, because your mind starts to run, doesn't it? It tries to think about what's going to happen with this. Like, how is this going to end? How am I going to manage it? Definitely. Worry. Yes, definitely worry. And we're going to talk a little about that in a few minutes. So those big things, fear, anxiety, and worry, definitely. Thank you for bringing that up. There is a second question. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move to the second question. You'll be able to continue to add to it, and we'll come to the answers later, right? But I appreciate everybody who took the time to do this. All right, and so the second question is, what's an example of uncertainty in your life? What's happening in your life that is uncertain? And I know everybody's going to have all kinds of different things. While you're doing that, I'm going to check in the chat. We've got a couple of comments. All right. Oh, definitely sweating, right? Glowing. You get very warm. Or somebody else says you feel cold. Yeah. The cold feeling is that your blood vessels are shutting down and bringing blood to the critical organs in your body. And so you do have that kind of visceral reaction to it. So yeah, that's definite. That's definite uncertainty. All right. Health, finances. Wow. Yeah. Future. There's so much uncertainty, right? So we do need to learn to live with it. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this, but you can continue to add to it, and we'll come back to it in a little bit just to kind of check in on it. All right. All right. Thank you again for everybody who joined us with that. All right, so here's something that's kind of interesting about uncertainty is that your brain has to finish the story. So all those things that you typed in about uncertainty in your life right now are running around in your brain because your brain needs to fix them. It needs to finish the story, and it's always fearing the worst. And so that's a really hard place to live. The oldest and the strongest emotion to mankind is fear. And some of you put that in there. And the oldest and strongest fear is the unknown. So that certainty is a powerful thing. Your brain is very vulnerable to uncertainty. Most anxiety disorders have the inability to tolerate uncertainty as its central feature. So just a thought there. Weathering uncertainty is definitely a basic characteristic of a resilient mind. And so as you work toward resiliency, you can see yourself tolerating uncertainty a little bit more. Consider the uncertainty of why a loved one has not returned a text or a phone call. How long can you wait until you try again, try a different way to connect, begin to worry? Maybe they lost their phone, maybe their phone's dead, they can't reach us. What if, right? We go to the what ifs. And so that whole thing about uncertainty, so kind of test yourself a little bit and see how long it is that you can wait. When I first started doing these 2 years ago, as Oscar can attest to, I would be uncomfortable with the uncertainty of not being able to connect right away. Like nobody's on, nobody's connecting, am I in the right place? And so I would connect my phone to see if I was in the right place, or I would start to text. And so now as I've gotten more comfortable, more confident with my skills, I'm able to sit back and to wait. And so that's my example of how certainty and uncertainty shows up for me. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the reactions. Oh, and you know what? I just saw in the chat, and I really do appreciate those of you who have family in Ukraine right now, because that that's got to be some very difficult stuff happening. That your mind is always thinking about them. Your heart is always thinking about them, and your body probably has a reaction too, whether you have kind of jumpy or nervousness about you, just waiting to hear from them. So definitely that is huge. And, you know, that whole idea that worry is like rocket fuel. And so you just think about that in your body. The amygdala is where a lot of this is going to be held, and that's your fight, flight, and freeze center. You can see that on the screen. That's the reactionary or reptilian center in your brain. And so when things happen, you react quickly. But for most of us, we can shift to our prefrontal cortex, and that's where that reasoning and that logic is. It takes about 6 seconds if you're doing well, if you're rested, if you're hydrated. Only 2% of dehydration causes a slower switch in that area. So for those of you who are studying, hydration is so critical. Same thing about presenting. Hydration will actually allow you to stay in that reasoning and not reacting. And so that's a really good thing. You want to move to that frontal lobe. You want to be able to critically think. This is really important. And if you don't have that shift, if you stay in that fight, flight, freeze center for too long, like 2 years, well, the level of the pandemic, you do feel overwhelmed, exhausted. You can have increased anxiety. It does lead to impulsive behaviors. So when it happens over and over again, or over a long period of time, because of the pandemic, the politics, the environmental fears, we have these shifting tides that you do have that higher level of cortisol. And so you want to be able to recognize it and calm things for yourself. Chronic uncertainty that we've had is exhausting to our mental health. Everybody is struggling in a different way. And so to remember that as you feel a little bit charged over an interaction that you have. Some of the things that happen that can help you, and in some ways we kind of kind of struggle to balance this because you're students, because you're working and you have a family and you have a life, or you try to have a life, is that when you sleep less than 5 hours a night, at least 3 nights a week, you will have more of that uncertainty, that anxiety, conflict in your life, social isolation, stress in work, which is inherent in work and school relationships, not acknowledging your successes. A lot of us have had to shift to take on different types of roles. And so we are now experienced novice. And so that brings up anxiety. But the idea about acknowledging what you've done to get to where you are is so important. And for you to do it for yourself, you know, those positive affirmations that I did at the very beginning in that reading, that's something that your brain needs to hear. And it's wonderful if instead of grabbing your phone first thing in the morning, maybe you could do 4 of those positive affirmations. I know several of you who have been on these PowerPoints had shared some really nice affirmations that you've used. And that I think is really helpful to allow your brain to kind of be bathed in that very positive way, instead of you grabbing your phone and checking for that first terrible thing that might have happened through the night. Worry does not help you prepare for what's coming. It actually increases your worry. It can decrease your feeling about problem solving and doubt your ability. So if you add in that sleep issues, conflict, stress, your feeling of insecurity or uncertainty does increase. But most people do overestimate how bad it is and underestimate your coping abilities. So that's a really important thing to think about, that you are capable, that you do have the ability, and that's a really good thing. Worry does breed more worry, strengthening that neural connection to support worry. So you have to think about it, that your brain will constantly rewire itself to suit the information you're giving it. So if you continually worry, that's where the shift is. If you're able to stay more in the moment and look for opportunities, things that you're grateful for, reflection about things that help make you stronger, over time, this is a very powerful tool that you can actually shift yourself to go the other way. And so that's important. There are 2 variants of uncertainty. One is about prior knowledge and the other is about event probability. So the important thing to think about is sometimes when you're feeling the uncertainty or you're worried about something coming up, you're basing it on what happened in the past. And so what you have to think about is that the reality now, and are you open to new information? The other uncertainty that's on event probability, that's on intuitive. That's like what your gut says is going to happen. So you're worried or you feel uncertain and you're anxious about what your gut says is going to happen. And a lot of times that's based on prior knowledge. So those 2 things do work together. The brain makes predictions based on information outside your conscious awareness. So the feelings you get a lot of times are before you've even had a chance to think about it. This allows, if you're able to have a grounding exercise like we did, or the positive affirmations, or even just 3 deep breaths. You look out a window, you take 3 deep breaths, that resets a neural pathway, and that allows you to be in the present moment, is really good. And it lets your mind then calmly kind of search what's going on, experience what you know. You can feel yourself relax. And this allows certainty in by using your conscious mind to be open to possibilities instead of dealing with what happened in the past. Uncertainty can't be eliminated. You know, we'd be great at the slot machines, right? If we had certainty there. We need a level of uncertainty in our lives to experience a sense of order. So we need to have a little of both, that uncertainty and certainty, so we know where that middle is. And so it's important that we have that, especially if we can get to that recognizing certainty. That allows us to feel that sense of order, to have emotional health and well-being. When you attempt to control things outside of your control, you can end up feeling demotivated and powerless, and that's hard. So what you want to do is you want to think about allowing, again, a recess for your brain. It's called non-time, N-O-N, time, to allow your brain do nothing. Instead, if you have a moment that you're waiting for something to happen, try not to grab for your phone. See if you can just sit, breathe. If you can look outside and you can see the green-gray color of nature, that's actually very calming to your brain. So walk to a window, take those breaths, take a look outside and be able to calm yourself. And so it's important that you're able to kind of shift your brain so that you do feel more efficient and more effective, and those are good. Being tolerant is an important thing, because if you're intolerant with this uncertainty, it's very tiring, it's very time consuming, it creates stress and anxiety, and it is fuel for worry. Chronic overstimulation, and you feel like you've hit that pandemic wall. You've had those feelings, I know you have. And so just feeling like I can't, I'm there. And that's that whole thing about uncertainty. It also happens in our social, kind of our social interactions. And so it's important that we have connections. And as things open up a little bit and you feel more safe, you feel liberated because you can go places without a mask. You can make a decision if you feel uncomfortable that it's too big of a gathering and you either would like to step outside, you would like to leave, or you want to pull the mask out of your pocket and wear it. The idea is that you have a choice to do it now in most cases. I realize at work and at school, we are still protecting all our vulnerable population and ourselves at the same time. So we do need to wear masks. But the idea that it's opening and you're able to have that social interaction is important. So staying connected is part of you being grounded, and that's an important thing. Even if you have to schedule it, assign an activity that you're going to call somebody at a certain time in the week, or you're going to make a point of meeting up with somebody. Those kind of things really do help. And especially the scheduling, because you can look forward to that happening. And that's really helpful around certainty. That really does help around certainty. So think of some of the things that Rush has available to you to support your well-being and your sense of meaning. There might be some things that you have that you're able to do that. Yes, actually, somebody asked about the slides, about the PowerPoint, and this is recorded and it's posted on the wellness website. So you're able to see all of our talks, and you're able to see this, the good and bad of it, on the wellness website. So go to Inside Rush/wellness, and you'll be able to go to our website and you'll be able to see resources, and you'll see all of the recordings. So thank you for asking that question. All right, so when we talk about certainty and tolerance, we have to think about uncertainty not meaning the same as unsafe. Even though we might fear the worst, it doesn't mean the environment is unsafe. So we need to unpack that a little bit. And it is truly okay to not be okay. And actually, to be able to recognize how it has felt, how it continues to feel, is so important, because if you can name it, you can claim it, you can work with it, right? So if you recognize how that feels in your body and recognize that it's happening, it's important that you're able to then work with it. And again, my heart goes out to those of you who are impacted very personally by what's happening in Ukraine. And hopefully those of us can be good supports to you as you are waiting to hear news of what's happening. The other thing is to think about you're enough, right? Just the fact that you're enough, you're here today. You've got time that you've put aside for your well-being. You've got resilience, and you're going to build on that so that you can endure and transition. And those things are very important. That you want to do a couple of things that are kind of interesting. Maybe resist the urge to check your GPS all the time. How many of you, even though you know the way to Rush, you put on the GPS to find out how long it will take you, but then you leave it on and you find yourself like looking to see where the next turn is, right? See what you can do about turning that off and be able to let your brain work that, because according to a book calling, let's see, I have a book that I'm trying to think of, even in the idea of being able to, keep sharp there, got it. In Dr. Gupta's book, Keep Sharp, he does talk about we decrease our ability to remember because of the ways we are relying on all our electronics, our GPS, our phone. thinking even about phone numbers that you used to remember. And so to be able to pull some of that back will help our memory. And especially those of you in coursework right now that takes a lot of that, this is a good exercise for you. So I think it's just important to kind of think about some of the certainty and uncertainty that we have. We do want to connect to a bigger purpose. You know, you are part of Rush. You are part of Rush System for Health. You are part of Chicago, Illinois, the United States. You know, connect to those bigger purposes and don't underestimate yourself. And the idea to appreciate that there is always going to be change and we're going to be able to manage that is important. Some of the things that you can do to make sure that you do have wellness in your mind, body, and spirit is to think about the things you do. And we already talked about the breathing. Those 3 deep breaths are so important. Getting up and moving will distract yourself from the neural pathway you might be on. So whether it's, you know, running a set of stairs, walking a loop around the hallway where you are, just kind of physically move yourself so that you're moving. If you're sitting on a chair, hopefully within 90 minutes, you get up and you move and go do an activity and come back, not to stay there, because the longer you stay there, the smaller your attention span will be and you won't get anything done. So every 20 minutes, look away from your screen. Every 90 minutes, get up, go do something, come back, and you will be able to be more attentive in those kinds of things. When you do have physical movements, you're releasing endorphins, so that feels good. And there is a long-term effect on exercise, even just walking, is that you will have less inflammation in your body. With your mind, that meditation, the affirmations for 5 minutes, even guided relaxation. Right now, Calm, as part, those of you who are employees at Rush, the Calm app is free. So take advantage of that. Also for everybody, YogaWorks is free, that you're connected with Rush. So you go to our website, the Rush Wellness website, you'll get the code to jump on to YogaWorks. So for the time that it's connected with us, it's free for those of you who wanted to dabble in that. And then just the idea of breathing, you know, the simple ability to breathe, notice what you're doing, notice how you're feeling, recognizing any interruptions, coming back to the breathing. Those things are very good for you to be able to do. Now, several of you mentioned worry, and I think this is a really important thing to think about, is that I want you to intentionally think about worry, because otherwise it's just going to run around in your brain. It's going to be on that hamster wheel, and actually it won't even be on a wheel. It'll just be kind of scattered in your brain. And you want to be able to identify what it is you're worried about. And so you have a pad of paper nearby and you write down the things that you're worried about. Get them out of your brain, put them on the paper so that your brain sees that you've got it. And maybe you can even put a deadline by a couple of them, like I got to do laundry tonight or I'm out of underwear, right? So just put down the things that you're thinking about, you're worried about, that are coming up for you, and write it down, and your brain will be definitely more calm about that. There's a lot of creative things that you can do. Scheduling a time that you're going to be able to do the worrying is nice. Scheduling a place in the room where you're at that you're able to worry, so that your brain knows that that's what's going to happen. Don't use your favorite chair or your bed. Use something different. Kitchen chair is good. Even looking outside and thinking about the things that you're worried about, and write it down. And so one of the things I want you to think about is the idea of, if you can't go to sleep, you are exhausted and you can't go to sleep, one of the reasons is because worry is going on, and you listed the things that you worry about, okay? Write those things down. You will be able to have a more calm brain when you try to sleep. If you wake up around 3:30 in the morning, usually it's because it's the end of a sleep cycle and you've got something right there on your mind that you're worried about, and you're going to wake up and that's what you're going to think about. Write it down. Get up, go to the restroom. If you're awake more than 15 minutes, go fold the laundry, do the dishes, come back, kind of reset yourself and be able to start that over again. So that's really important. The other thing, you've heard me talk about positive scanning a lot. There is a website called 3 Good Things. It's an actual thing that you would write down 3 good things that happened to you each evening for 14 days to create a habit and allow you to start thinking of more and more positive things instead of having all the if onlys and what ifs being the only thing running around in your head. So you actually teach yourself how to do positive scanning, and that's a really important thing to do. All right, so we can shift back really quick and see how that, that last piece went. All right, it filled up nicely. All right, so the examples of uncertainty. All right, so we stayed with definitely future, money, health, finances, work-life balance or balancing work-life. That's something that's an ongoing thing, right? Relationships, retirement. Yeah, never too late or early to talk about that. So thank you for sharing all of those things. That's definitely showing that as a community, we have a lot of things in common that we think about, that we worry about, that's uncertain for us. And so we do want to be able to share that we are all in this, right? Okay. All right. So back to our talk. All right, so let's talk about just cognitive reframing. So just a little bit of an exercise. So some of the things that you put into that word cloud, let's think about your inner dialogue around that. So it's important that you can think about one of the things you worry about and work on switching the script, okay? This is not Pollyanna, but this is actually working on it. So sometimes for some people, when you call because something's not working, you have an Xfinity bill, you have an order that hasn't shown up, you have something going on, and one of the first things you do is you get put on hold, right? And where's your tolerance on how long you're willing to be put on hold? And have you learned the, put it on speaker and carry the phone around with you and keep doing what you're doing while you're on hold, right? And then you get disconnected. Oh my gosh, you have to start this again. So that's definitely something that can kind of get people going. And so maybe instead, you recognize the fact that I'm tense because I'm in this situation, that I have to do this. I have to get this done. And so maybe I could ask like how long the wait would be. I love the sites that say you're fifth or you're second or you're next. I love those sites. And you can get to decide how you are with that, just that information. Are you okay? You're going to wait it out? Like, I've tried this. I've just got to stay, even if it's like 6 hours, I'm going to stay on this, or I'm going to call back later. Or sometimes they give you that option to put in an email and they'll call you back, right? The help desk is wonderful about that. They're really good about calling back. So definitely use that option. But either way, you'll be okay because you made the decision of how you're going to manage it. And I think that's the important thing about that, is that you manage it. All right, so some of you had a match week as far as what clinicals you were going through and how nervous were you to get that information, and what if it wasn't the outcome that you were hoping for, and what will you do when that happens? It is okay to think about it ahead so that you can actually kind of role play in your brain what will happen for you. Is it the worst thing ever, or is it something that you could be open to curiosity, and maybe there's a reason why I'm being placed here. Maybe there's some opportunity that I can take advantage of that will really make a difference in my life. And so being able to recognize that it's hard to not know, or to wait, or to even stress about the results, it still won't change the outcome. Where you're going to go is where you're going to go, right? But you can look at the things you can control and think about managing that discomfort. Think about what might come up for you when you are stressed, when it's not the perfect match, and that there are other options that you're given. And I think that's the important thing, that you don't turn off the ability to have that opportunity for other options. When you're doing that reframing, you want to think about what's coming up for you, what's bubbling up in that word cloud in your head, what's happening in your body. Are there hot buttons that are being pushed? Are you feeling that nervousness? Are you feeling warm? Are you feeling cold? And then see if you can alter your perception a little bit, just a little bit, kind of make that shift, and see if you can, instead of jumping to conclusion, you can think about something in a positive way. Like you can think about, it's not all or nothing, that I'm not overgeneralizing, that I'm not going to the negative first. The Darth Vaders in our audience, right? Don't go to that negative first. See if you can stay on that positive. Some people, even when they hear the positive, they don't believe it. And so the whole idea of trusting yourself, feeling confident in what you're doing. We want to focus on what we can do And the 3 good things is a really good exercise for those of you who kind of fall into that kind of more negative. You need to build up your positives. That's a very important thing. Another way to build certainty into your life is thinking about your 5 senses when you're doing something. And my best example of this is cooking. When you're cooking from a recipe, you are using all of your senses, right? If anybody has any suggestions of other things, throw them in the chat. I know book clubs use a lot of your senses. A walking group, definitely. You might not have taste unless you brought a mint or something along with you, or gum that you're able to do that. But think about a working mothers group on Facebook. Think about different things that you have that are not time consuming, but you're connecting meaningfully, safely, and you check out your uncertainty and certainty with this group of people that have like interests. And that's a really good thing that you're able to kind of check where you are in the balance of all of that. Some of the things I can offer you to reinforce resilience are on the screen. I think the fact that we live with uncertainty all the time, the best thing is just not to focus on it if you are able to do that, and think about other things that can allow your brain to shift. You want to be able to occupy your brain with activity, entertainment, learning. That's the best way to shrink worry down to size, is when you're thinking about these things. At night, I do not recommend leaving your TV on, leaving your phone on, but if you need it, that Calm app has a timer on it and is able to help you fall asleep with some repetitious sounds, and then it turns off. And that's the important thing, that you're able to turn things off, okay? And that thing about slow wave sleep does improve your recall and facts and events. And so for those of you who are studying, again, this is really important to get to that slow wave, to allow yourself to have that non-interrupted sleep. Even leaving your phone by your bedside and it brightens each time you have something, the sound's off, but your brain will still alert to that brightening. And so I used this example before, that 3 a.m. Kohl's coupon will actually bring you to a next higher level sleep cycle, and you won't get that good slow wave sleep. And so moving that phone out of your room is probably one of a hard thing, but a really good thing to make sure that you're sleeping well. Sleep deprivation does affect your ability to remember and process, because that's what happens during sleep. You file your information. And so sleep is a priority, even though you feel you don't have time for it. That's a really important thing. During your sleep, no new information comes in. So it's really just processing. So you do need that long-term storage, right? And the worry time we talked about. And so being able to take advantage of some of these things, just like even one of these things might be able to help. Let's think about your tolerance around anxiety. Is you have 0 tolerance. As soon as somebody bumps into you, you're already jumping on them. Or highest, that you allow things to happen. Kind of think about where you are. And some of the things that can help you to decrease the impact, one of the biggest things is having routine in your life. So if you have a morning routine or an afternoon routine, an evening routine is so important, that you think about what it is in your life that you can depend on, and routine is really important. So hitting the snooze button actually disrupts your sleep cycle. So give yourself that extra 10 minutes of sleep as part of your sleep cycle, and get up when the alarm goes off. I'm terrible at that. And that is like one thing that I need to work on. But don't set it up so that you hit the snooze button. Don't let your mind be directed by your phone. Being addicted to the ups and downs of news cycles are really important that you recognize, and think instead about the ways that you wake up, that you're able to stretch, greet those in your household if they're awake, and be able to breathe. Allow yourself to kind of have that thing. The idea about washing your face is really interesting, because cold water does decrease anxiety in the moment. And that's a really good thing, that you would be able to wash your face, kind of brighten yourself in the first thing, and then be able to stretch and meditate and open the screen or the curtains in your area. Those kind of things are very important that you're able to do. So again, just recognizing the stress in your body, controlling your breathing, recognizing that you're breathing fast and taking those 3 deep breaths to slow you down. If you're really struggling with trying to slow down, use asynchronous breathing. So in through the count of 4, hold it out to the count of 7. Navy SEALs use that breathing pattern when they're feeling anxious before they're about to start something. So you might want to try that. That might work for you as well. Look at the big picture. If you physically can take a step back from where you are, it allows your brain to kind of open up the field of vision, because sometimes when you're stressed, that field of vision gets very little and you really can't think beyond what you're looking at in the moment. So allow yourself to open that up. Rest if you can't sleep. Rest means let your brain have that recess from all your screens. Try to stay positive. And by that, I mean, when somebody is interacting with you, maintain good intentions and use curiosity instead of reacting to the words they're saying. Try to allow your brain to hear the words and get to that prefrontal cortex so that your reasoning and logic can kick in and believe that they have good intentions. Maybe just their tone or what they're saying is not quite what you would hope for, that you get your hot buttons. And if it is something that's about a meeting, that you might need a timeout, like right now, I really can't focus on this. Can we reschedule for 5 minutes or tomorrow? That's an important thing. And another thing about that is maybe if you're recognizing that in your body, you might want to work with a mentor. You might want a coach to be able to work through this with you, to practice the scenario, for you to be able to say the words for the first time with somebody who's supportive before you need to say it to somebody that maybe you feel more in conflict with or you feel more stressed about. And I am going to go over some of those supports that you can react to in just a moment. But first, I would like to take a moment and take a look in the text. Okay, thank you. I'm looking at these chats, and 3 good things is definitely, thank you, Katie, for mentioning that. It is really definitely helpful to have that. Catastrophizing is an art form. Some people are very good at it. And the important thing about that is just to recognize you're good at it and label it and say, oh my gosh, I'm doing that again. And be able to have a little self-humor, be able to allow yourself to have that and to calm yourself and be able to say, okay, the here and now, this is what's going on. Because there are real catastrophes going on in our world. And so maybe what's happening to you might not be the worst thing. It might be something that you can manage based on things you've done before. And so that's important. 3 Ps, pause, pray, and proceed. I love that. That is wonderful. So thank you guys for putting these things in the chat. I think that is so helpful. So, all right, so we're going to get to these options. And I think the fact that the pandemic has elevated our uncertainty, and then all of the things, the civil unrest, the political unrest, the things that are happening in Ukraine have all continued to create this uncertainty. So the key is really to just recognize that it's there. I think that, goes without saying. I think I've said that a lot. And for those of you coming back from break, I'm hoping that you had a good break, that you were able to take a break and kind of start fresh, start anew into your new coursework, have opportunities to really embrace this, and that's a really good thing. And so just to introduce you to some of the resources that we have, this is actually a picture of the Wellness Center. As you walk in, the conference room that we have, it's a very small space, but it's beautiful. It's set for your comfort and wellness when you come to visit, to be coached over something that you have found that you're struggling with, that you're out of sorts with, that you feel conflict around. You need some organization support. It was built on money from support from philanthropy. So they thought we needed a brick and mortar place. And it's over on the first floor of the Triangle building. So you definitely would like to come and take a look at that. And one of the wonderful things, including our coaching and counseling, is the energy pod, which allows you weightlessness. All the senses are kind of muted. So you're able to let your brain rest. It's a good example of what brain recess should be, kind of to aspire to do it without the help of the energy pod, but definitely make an appointment for that is good. All of these resources are free to students, house staff, and employees, and there's no session cap. So if you find a coach that you like that's working well on one thing, you might want to pull out that worry list and continue to work on things. So you just free yourself from some of the things that you're worried about, that you continue to feel that conflict about. It's open from 7 to 7. On the 22nd of February, we came back in person. So we are both virtual and in person. Again, counseling, well-being, mini wellness retreats, talks like this, coming to a group. All the information is available on the website. And again, it's going to the Rush, Inside Rush site and then /wellness, or use the QR code. This QR code will come up a couple times in this last couple slides. Some of you might be worried about confidentiality or privacy around your mental health. And the way this has been designed has been to allow for that privacy, from the way you enter in a private by appointment, to a private waiting area, to a private counseling area, out to a general exit, by the way the documentation done, which is encrypted, not MyChart, not Epic. All of those things are very important, that we're able to offer that confidence for you to come and feel that your confidentiality is protected. There is another offer that we have, and this is the Wellness Assistance Program, or what a lot of people traditionally would call the EAP. So it's we're contracted with Perspectives, which is an outside counseling agency, and you can also have the opportunity to work with them. The difference with them is that there are 5 sessions that are included in your benefits. After that, you do have to move on to your insurance. And so I have a side-by-side slide here, and I'll try to make sure I get this over to the side. So on the left is what I was talking about with the clinical wellness. On the right is the EAP, or the Wellness Assistance Program. And you can see there's subtle differences. The biggest ones is the Center for Clinical Wellness is free and unlimited to our Rush community. The Wellness Assistance Program on the right side, 5 sessions are free. The unique part about this is it's also available to immediate family members and significant others. So I think that is impressive, that you could have somebody in your family who's struggling, working with someone over in the assistance program, while you come and just get some reorganizing, recentering done in the Wellness Center. So those definitely are options for you. All right. Let's see, and I want to make sure that if anybody wanted to talk to somebody in the Wellness Assistance Program, that you're able to grab this phone number. All right, but it's also, all the information again is on insiderush.rush.edu/wellness. So you'll be able to get to that. All right, so something new that started this summer was a pager last summer. 852-323. Those of you who are Bulls fans will remember Michael Jordan's number, so that's an easy thing. And the reason this is important is because there's just some times that you don't feel yourself, and you might want somebody to kind of coach you in the moment. And so within 60 minutes, you will get someone from the Wellness Center that will be able to identify what's going on with you and then get you to resources. So whether it's something to make an appointment or something you need immediately, sometimes you just need to check because you're not sure. And so this pager is great, and it's an e-page, so you can actually go ahead and e-page as well, and you will get a response to that also. You'll see these flyers around the medical center, and what it is to give you fast access, that if you know that somebody's immediately at risk, you know you want to call 911, don't second guess yourself, do it, because you can always cancel or have them say, you know, they're really okay, we're going to get them to the emergency room and get an appointment. That's a good thing to be able to have. If you need support right now, it's that pager, 852323, will get you within an hour a response. But even sooner than that, if you use that Wellness Assistance Program, that's that 24/7 response that you're able to use. And then finally, if you just go on the website, you can take a look at the different types of talks that we have and the things that are there. So when we think about self-care, there's a lot of resources on our website, and, you know, kind of allow yourself to have a moment of wellness by just going on the website and taking a look to see what's available, including the recording of these talks, if that is helpful for you. And the idea that self-care does not have to be a big thing. It can be having water at your side more often than you do now, or throwing that apple in your backpack so that when you're hungry and it's not quite time to eat, that you're able to bridge instead of going to the snack, to the crackers in the vending machine kind of thing. And then just to wrap up, I'm going to take a look in the chat. Does the Wellness Center offer couples counseling? It does not, but it will allow you to get resource to somebody for couples counseling. So I think that's the information. And yes, that if you were working with a coach or a counselor in one of the locations, your spouse also would be eligible to go to Perspectives for the 5 sessions. So yeah, so you can definitely learn more about that as you're able to take a look at that website. So you'll see a lot of that. All right, so we're just about to end. So we're going to ask for any types of questions that you have. And those of you who want to stay on for the last few minutes, we'll do a relaxation exercise for those of you who enjoy that. But the idea about the fact that you gave yourself the time to be here today is really a testament to your resilience, and congratulations for that. Recognize that's great self-care. And then take a look at the website. Try to do at least one thing that has to do with better sleep, exercise, and nutrition, and then do it again. But if it works, you're going to want to do it more. So that's wonderful. Embracing your worry is important, and making that appointment. Come on over to the Wellness Center or have a virtual visit is really good. Okay. All right. So if anybody would like to unmute, you are very welcome, for those of you that if anybody would like to unmute and have a question, that would be great, because in just about a minute, I'm going to go ahead and switch over. My hope is for those of you, many of you who put fear, anxiety, and worry in that first word cloud, did this help you pick out at least one thing that you might be able to access to help calm that a little bit? Oh, you're very welcome, Janice. Thank you for that kind note. All right, so then I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. All right, and go ahead and do, let's see. All right, some of you have pictures on, nobody has your camera on. Go ahead and do the relaxation exercise. For those of you who need to leave, please go with wellness in your mind for your day, and hopefully your afternoon will go well. So, all right, for the rest of you, go ahead and sit in your chair, a little bit sitting up, not all the way back, hands on your lap. Taking those 3 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. If you can close your eyes, do that, or at least look down. And we're going to start with your toes. So as you kind of scan your body and going down to your toes, I'm in gratitude for all of you who are leaving thank you comments. Thank you for being here. And we're going to start with curling your toes, lifting your toes up off the ground, keeping your heels on the ground. Hold it tight for a moment, and then put your feet down and relax your toes. Let's do that again. Curl your toes, toes come off the ground, heels are on the ground. This is part of flow yoga. And then let your feet go flat on the ground. This time, as you curl your toes, keep your feet flat, tighten your calves and thighs. Hold them tight, take a breath in, and on exhale from your hips, let those muscle groups relax all the way down to your toes. Let's do that again. Curl your toes, calves and thighs. Let's include your glutes and abs. Hold tight. You're sitting really tall. Hold it. Breathe in, and on exhale, go ahead from your hips all the way down to your toes and relax. Take a deep breath. Let's take your right hand on the left side of your chair and gently pull, so you're stretching that back oh so gently. Come back to the center. Take your left hand over to that right side, doing the same thing, and back to the center, and take a deep breath. Like you turn your hands over so you can make a fist with your thumbs on top. Hold that fist tight, and then gently let your hands open. Let's do that again. Tighten your fist, thumbs on top. This time, tighten your arms to your sides, so your upper and lower arms are tight. Your elbows are tight into your side. Hold it. And then from your shoulders, let those muscles gently relax and your hands open. Last time with this, tighten your fists, arms are in tight, elbows are tight. Bring your shoulders up as high as you can, really high. Some days you walk around like this, right? Okay. Now, before you go ahead and roll those shoulders back, I want you to think about your shoulder blades and engage your shoulder blades. So let's think about that. Engage your shoulder blades so you really get a good open in your chest. And then again, reverse it. Relax those arms, open the hands, stretch your fingers, and take a deep breath. Now we're going to work on your neck. Let your right ear over your right shoulder. Let it gentle stretch. And then bring that back to the center. Left ear over to the left shoulder and back to the center. Bring your chin forward, allowing your neck to stretch, shoulders are down, and back to the center. And let your head go back to the center, open your jaw, take a deep breath. If you were doing these before bed, you'd want to be able to do everything twice, do each grouping of muscles twice. The last group is your facial muscles, so clench your jaw, purse your lips, get a good pucker going. Yes, I'm brave, I have my camera on. Let those muscle groups relax, open your jaw. Next time, we're going to do clench your jaw, purse your lips, eyes are tight, cheeks are in, kind of really good pucker. Hold it tight, hold it for a moment, and from the center of your face, allow those muscle groups to relax. Last time, clench your jaw, purse your lips, eyebrows, eyes, forehead, everything. Squish to the middle of your face, hold it tight. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, allow all those muscles to relax. Raise your eyebrows, open your jaw, take a deep breath. All right, we're going to stretch it out. Hands in front. When your hands go over your head, grab your wrist and pull to the side. And then switch to the other side and pull. Again, put your hands behind your back, opening up that chest. Take that deep breath. Bring your hands to the front. Rest them on your legs. Keep your eyes closed, and for 10 seconds, just be. Again, I want to thank you for taking the time out to be here. I'm going to check the chat one more time. And I really do appreciate the fact that you were all here. And we'll see you next month. All right. See you in April. Oh, and it is National Joke Month. So somebody better have a really good joke when you come back. Okay. All right. Good seeing everybody, seeing your names. Have a good afternoon. Oh, Olga, thank you. I appreciate your note. Warms my heart.